Gabby, you've called in amazing women in the Las Comadres community.
Oh my god, yes, Jamie.
I want to know more about how they made it.
Yes, right? They're real stories. Where the idea for their business came from, how they invested in it, how they got their clients.
I think this is a podcast.
Well, fairy godmother, you're hosting it.
Do you dream about me?
Hello, welcome to the Las Comadres podcast. I'm excited to have Vivian Olodun here with us today. Vivian is part of the Las Comadres community, and she is an inspiring, amazing woman who is up to big things. We are thrilled to be able to share and learn from her today. So welcome, Vivian.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, community. Hello, all of our ladies. So great to see everyone and to be here.
Awesome. So thank you for coming. So can you give us a quick introduction of who you are, what you do, a little bit of how you got here?
Sure. My name is Vivian Olodun, and I am known as the Mini Mogul Money Magnet. And people call me that because I work with brands on their messaging and their digital presence so that they can move from a commodity to a brand and request more money for the services or be more selective in the types of clients that they work with.
Dude. It's so good to hear like positive women and money discussion, and that's like one of the things we wanted to have you on this podcast about, because you have such a good positive attitude about money, and we absolutely love that. So how did you get into this business?
Well, I got into being a marketing advisor first and foremost because I was working in just the marketing space, first of all. So I started out thinking that I was going to work for the government. I went to school for political science and public administration, thinking I would be, Olivia Pope before there was an Olivia Pope. And I thought that I would work on campaigns and messaging and understanding why people do what they do and all of that. And it turns out that knowing why people vote the way they vote is very useful on why people buy the way they buy. So that same information that I learned, I was able to use that in the private sector for business. So that's what happened. So the recession happened to me, and the job that I was going to school for disappeared. So I had to find a different way to use my skills.
Nice. So when you went off were you always on your own? Were there many jobs in between?
Oh, there were many jobs in between. So when I found out that I was never going to be able to work in the government and do the thing that I wanted to do, and I have to say that the job still existed, I just needed to be in the military to do it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to leave college to go to the military. It wasn't the path that I wanted for myself. Although my entire family are in the military.
Right.
So big up to all of our
Yes, always.
But from there, I worked for the Miami Heat, actually. I was the supervisor for the flagship lounge, which is the floor level lounge on the north side. So that's what I did. And from there, I worked for the adult industry. I was a fraud detection analyst. I worked there when everything was said and done for 7 years. So I know the digital space in an intimate way that most people don't. But that's how I learned and got the background in my digital perspective, I would say. And that being the largest industry online, it's very useful for my clients that is the meat of where my information comes from.
And so much fraud in that industry.
And there's so much fraud.
Which is a really interesting way to be able to market it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So while I was there, I was let go from my office job, and I was just so distraught because I thought, what kind of person gets fired from the adult industry? Like, how does that work? What do I do with that? So I was complaining about it because at the same time, I still worked for the Miami Heat and still worked at the arena. And there was someone there who knew that I was at the same time doing my master's degree. So yes, you counted correctly. That is studying in school, that is maintaining my own business, working for the Miami Heat, and maintaining a job, a corporate job in the adult industry. So I had 4 jobs at the same time.
Did you have more hours in the day than the rest of us?
I did not, but I have excellent time management. So that's something to be said. So just think about, we all have the same hours as Beyonce.
Right.
And I'm not Beyonce, but time
What's your
management. But time management is very helpful. You need to manage that. And when I was at the Miami Heat, someone offered and said, "Hey, Vivian, you know what? Since you do know fraud, you would be great to work in the finance industry. And so I went from working in the adult industry as my 9 to 5. Now, remember, I maintained all these jobs at the same time.
Right.
But my 9 to 5.
When I was at one job, I was at the other job, and all together.
Yeah, and they all happened at the same time. So I went to go work for a cash securities company, which is the second largest in the world. And from there, I was helping them because they were moving from Canada, which is where the company is based, to Boca Raton. And they needed someone to be the liaison here in Florida. So I went from being one of many people in my little department to being the go-to person for a leading company in the entire state. So that pushed me in an environment where I needed to stand up as a leader. I needed to pay attention to how I carried myself and how I needed to fill in the gap, basically, for the CEOs and for the VPs who are coming later. But until they get here, you get me.
It's all this.
Yeah, you get me. So in that time, I became the business development manager for Florida. And then as the company started moving down, I was from Orlando down through Key West. So I learned my business development sales. I learned sales from the top people to learn it from. So I was in rooms with, in that job, my clients were Disney, Wachovia Bank, CVS, some of the leading names in our business world. And I don't mean like, I met them. Like, I mean, I would sit with them just like we're sitting here and had an opportunity to talk to them about how they manage money because we're a cash security company. So I would be in meetings where we were often talking about billions of dollars or trillions of dollars. Very seldom that we would say, 100 or 1,000.
That wasn't followed by a million or a billion.
Yeah. So we were always talking about a lot of commas. And coincidentally, my office was the same office where the cash for Disney is kept. So when I walked into my office, I would see cash money, like a vault of money, cash. And I would see it every day and think, look at the money I'm sharing this space.
What a great visual.
Yeah. So it was.
You're like, this is actually possible.
Right. So it's possible. I mean, before that, even though I knew that that the adult industry made a lot of money, and I conceptually understand that. I wanted to work in the government, and when they talk about this thing, like a toilet seat costs this in trillions of dollars, you can see that on paper, but it's very different when you see and know. Like, I know how much $100,000, how much of it fits in my hand. I know how
you have the physical.
Yeah, so that physical relationship with money, and I think that was very transformative for me on how I think about money. And when someone comes to me and they want to grow their business and they say, I want to make $100,000, I'm like, oh, that's great. Let's think about how you can make $1 million. Let's conceptualize what it looks like. And for me, it's not far-fetched because I've just watched it happen so many times.
I love it. I think as women, a lot of times, the thing that holds us back the most is the idea of how much I deserve or how much, it's like, it's so far-fetched that you can't quite get into the visual of it. And maybe we need a field trip to like see some money.
Go to Fort Knox and just go look at it. Just know that it exists. I mean, and when, in finance, we're all aware of what happened during the recession. So finance was hit very hard. So one of the things that I learned in that environment when I was let go ultimately is that there's such a thing called a non-compete clause. And I'm from California. I'm from LA, and it doesn't exist. It's illegal in California.
Oh.
Yeah, but in Florida, it's very active. People use it all the time. And what it means is that you can't work in that industry for a specific amount of time. So when I left the security finance, I couldn't work in security finance for 18 months. So all the stuff that I've learned, I couldn't go to the next company and go work there. That's not the way I was going to be able to use that information. So I did what anybody would do, and I became a flight attendant.
I feel like this is a good story. Who did you fly for?
So I flew for Falcon Air, which is a private jet company. And so I, was going to get my hair done, and I was just complaining about the whole process of keep going on all these job interviews, and it's so hard, and I don't know what to do. And a friend of mine said, hey, well, don't you like to travel? I said, yeah, I like to travel. It's like, well, I know somebody who's a flight attendant for this private jet company. And I mean, if you just want to take a break and do something different, give it a try. And you can go through that process and do it. And I went through the process and I did it. And I would fly back and forth from Venezuela to here in Curacao and South America over and over. And again, that put me in the environment to meet people who fly on private jets.
It made private jets possible.
Yeah, so I was
Like,
oh,
and easy.
It's like easy. It's something I do every day.
That's what everyone does.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Let's take the private jet.
Take the jet. It's the easiest thing. So that put me, again, in an environment where things that are supposed to be far-fetched were not, because I did it all the time. So I didn't think anything of it. So during that same time, I'm still on all these different forums because, you know, I'm used to having four jobs at
right.
Why not?
One is nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. So while I was a flight attendant, I was still on all of the forums, and I still had all the education and the experience that I had. And we were moving up until the end of the 18 months. And there was a recruiter. Her name was Jamie. Not this Jamie.
No.
But her name was Jamie. And she came to me and she said, your resume is absolutely perfect for this job. I think you should pursue it. It's a temporary job. It's not, you know, you won't have it forever. And in my mind, I thought, well, no job is forever, because when I got out of college with my master's degree, I've been fired 3 times. So yeah, no job is forever. So that also was very helpful to me when I look back on it, because it broke the stigma where most people think that working for somebody is secure.
Right.
It's not.
And I mean, all of life is just temporary. So it's interesting. It's when you can look at it in a way of like, nothing's totally secure. So
yeah, like what difference does it make?
Oh, if I actually knew when it was going to end, it might even be better.
Yeah, and then I can prepare for it. So, so when that opportunity presented itself, I found myself at the Miami Association of Realtors. And what they were looking for was someone who knew about social media. So I talked about the other jobs that I had, but I didn't mention the business that I had during this whole time. When I was in college, I wanted to buy a dress, and I did not have the money to buy a dress. And I walked into a boutique in Miami Shores, and I said, you know, I held the dress in my hand, I smelled the dress, I felt the fabric, and I started to imagine myself owning this dress that I knew I couldn't afford. And I said to the person there, not knowing that they were the owner of the shop, hey, if I could get some girls from my school to model your clothes, and I think a lot of people would want to buy it. So if you give me all these clothes, I'll model it and whatever they sell. I think you should give me this dress for free.
Like, I really need this dress, so I'm going to figure out how to get it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You gotta look for the solutions.
Yeah.
So I did that. We put on the fashion show, and I started fashion clubs, what it was at school.
Mm-hmm.
And we put on these fashion shows, and believe it or not, we made so much money from the fashion show that my school, Barry University, told me that I needed to open a business account, and I needed to go through the process to do that, because the money that we made was so much money that they couldn't hold it in a club account at the school. So
the money was from tickets?
Yeah, from ticket sales.
From ticket sales, and then what they sold in the fashion show went back to the business.
That, and me being who I am, I said, well, if she'll let me model her clothes, I'm sure there's other boutiques that'll let me model the clothes too. So what I decided was that I would charge every single one of the boutiques to be in the fashion show, and then I would take a percentage from the things that are sold, my percentage either being a dress that I wanted,
right,
or it would be actual money that they had needed to pay me because people purchased the stuff from the trunk sale after the fashion show. So we made so much money that it was over what the policy of the school would hold. And so I didn't know that I was being an entrepreneur. I didn't know that it would push me into entrepreneurship. However, I became one that day because I needed a bank account, and to get a bank account, you need an EIN number. To get the EIN number, you need to register. So, and because I was studying poli-sci, I understood processes and paperwork very well, because that's what I went to school for. So I just did the paperwork, and I had a business in 48 hours.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So did you keep that business? Did you continue to run fashion shows?
Yeah, so I continued to run fashion shows. I did that for 6 years. I was in the Ocean Drive magazine. I had models that were in BT's Rip the Runway. I was in all different kinds of things. And before it was over, I ended up having basically a modeling agency, because all of my students, all my peers, would say, Vivian, negotiate my deal for me, because I know if you do it, I'm definitely going to get paid. And I sent models to be like in Akon's music videos and like all that kind of stuff. And I just did it. And it was just something that came naturally to me. And because I worked in the adult industry, you can imagine I was always, there was always some beautiful girl that I knew who would fit what they were looking for. And so it just grew and grew and grew. It grew, and it was always registered as a nonprofit because I understood that if you had a nonprofit, the only difference was you didn't have to pay a dividend to your board members. But if you have a for-profit, then you do. You have to figure out all that stuff. So I had a nonprofit. We did the marketing, and then I understood that if you spend money on marketing, that it's tax deductible. And because businesses are always looking for marketing opportunities, and the students who were participating were always looking for education, it became like a work study partnership where students are learning and having opportunity to use their skills that they're learning in the classroom, but also get paid for it. And you are getting marketing and all this great stuff for your business, and it's tax deductible. So it doesn't matter how much you spend with me, it's going to be tax deductible anyway, and you're helping people learn.
That is the most amazing story I have ever heard, I think. It's great because it's this idea of like, oh, I'm a student and I want to learn how to do this. It's like you fell into it and then just like kept figuring out each step, like one more step. Oh, I want this dress.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to this thing. I'm going to make a fashion show.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that works. Oh, that's like each piece is like building on the next, but you're also really educating your peers and getting really good experience for everyone around you.
Yeah, and it's just a win-win, and I can't take full credit for that. I mean, my mother is a teacher, and I went to high school in California, and they believe in cooperative learning, and that was when I came to Florida, the first thing that I noticed that was different is that in California, everything you do is like a group project. They expect you to work with others and figure things out, but in Florida, that isn't naturally the nature of doing things, but I was able to pick up on that cultural norm of California and put it into my nonprofit. And then it just kept growing and growing, and it turned into, at the end of things, we had a chapter at Barry University, a chapter at FIU, and then a chapter at Johnson & Wales. I had 300 people that were in that organization. And I didn't run it by myself. I had like a board and all that stuff, but 300 people. Yeah.
That is awesome. See, there's always something new you learn. Like, I knew part of the story, but then I'm like, okay, here's a whole other piece, which is really cool to, like, be able to take, oh, I want to learn about this thing, and, like, it just, like, keeps moving forward, and that's such a cool thing. I think a lot of the women in Las Comadres, they're always looking for, like, what is the next step, and, and sometimes those steps seem so huge that they're hard to take.
Yeah. And they're not. It's just one little thing after the other. And it's about being open to an opportunity, because I came from a very religious background and never thought that I'd be working in the adult industry. And even that was strange, because I thought that I was going to be a bartender, because I was 20 and I was in a bartending class, and then I got called for a job interview the last day of my exam for bartending. So I had my bartending license and never used it because I got hired for the first job I had, which was customer service at this adult industry company. And but it's being open to it, because right now I have my bartending license. I have my 3 degrees from traditional education. I also have my flight attendant license. So there's many different ways in which I've played with the idea of being uncomfortable.
Right.
Just let yourself be uncomfortable. Do something a little bit different, because it all adds into what you can offer at the end. Because now, as a marketing advisor, somebody's in aviation or advertising or content development or finance or digital sales or physical sales or boutique or any of those things, I know it because I've done it before. It's not, it's not conceptual. I've actually done it and seen what the back end.
Seen the money exchange, see how it actually goes down.
Yeah, and it's like, I really earned that title, Mini Mogul Money Magnet, because that woman helped me so much. Because after she was in my fashion show, year after year, her revenue increased by 30%. Wow. Every year. And she went from not even knowing that she was that close to the university to having students buy from her, work for her, intern for her, and become influencers before influencers was being influencers for her, all based on taking a chance on giving somebody a free dress.
Which is all just about building community.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, Barry University is in Miami Shores.
Yeah.
Miami Shores is a small community, but the two don't interact that much.
Yeah.
And so like the idea of like, oh, who are our people in our community and how can we make those connections happen? Like it just built a huge thing from there.
Yeah, a lot of things come from that. And I mean, when I went from working in finance and then having the opportunity to work in real estate, because I was brought on for being their social media consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why Jamie felt like I was such a great fit was because I was able to build this fashion business all through social media. I would just put it on Facebook or put it, on Tumblr at the time or wherever. And the association was trying to figure out how do we get our audience, because they had 34,000 members at the time, more engaged on social media, because we feel like social media is the thing. This is in 2010. This is almost a decade.
You're like an original influencer.
Yeah, I'm an original influencer. By your words, not mine. But that's what it was. So I came in and I trained them and I helped them to build their system and how they train real estate agents on how to stand out online. So that was my initiative, working with them. And I'm very proud of the work that I see a lot of realtors doing now. And I can look back and say, oh, I just learned that.
Oh, I was part of that.
Yeah. But when I worked there, I worked and then finished my temporary placement. And from there, because I was around all these different realtors, Coldwell Banker Residential Real Estate picked me up and I became their marketing director for South Florida. And that's where I ended up in real estate. So it's not a straight line, I wouldn't say.
Fashion.
Yeah.
To finance.
Mm-hmm.
To flight attendant.
Mm-hmm.
To real estate.
Yeah, to real estate.
It's always interesting when you can look back and like see the line, but like when it's happening, people around you, were they?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Well, first of all, they were very impressed because it was the middle of the recession, and I am Black and I am female, and those demographics suffer the most when financial things are going wrong in a community or in a country. And they were very impressed by my ability to get a job. They were people were very curious about, how are you able to find a job when nobody can find a job? Everybody keeps getting fired. So I embraced the idea of, I keep getting fired, but I have to get hired first. And even in that, I created a system on how to find a job, which I would teach my friends how do you get a job and then get a high paying job, because I also was quite paid quite well for the jobs that I had. It wasn't like I had entry level jobs either. And so that became a lesson of how do you get what you want even though everything is not on your side.
All right, you got some tips on that? I think all the people want to know, how do you negotiate better?
Right. Well, you negotiate better by understanding what is important to the other person. Because you have to understand, why are they hiring you? Why did they hire you? What are the responsibilities of your job? And what special assets do you bring to the table? And what would someone pay for that outside of your environment? So when I ultimately left working with Coldwell Banker, the reason why was because I was asking for a raise. The raise was for $15,000 specifically. That's how much I wanted. And I based that on what I knew my coworkers were making, because there's a stigma around talking about money in the workplace, but truthfully, I think it keeps everybody very honest if you know what the person right next to you is getting paid.
Yeah.
I mean, because sometimes we judge our coworkers like, oh, they don't put in the most effort, they're not trying, they're late all the time, they're this, they're that. But if you knew how much they were getting paid, you'd understand. Wherein you might be getting paid $30,000 or $40,000 more than that. You just don't know. You just don't know. So when I asked for that $15,000 raise, I had transitioned from having my nonprofit, which was called Opulent Image Models. I still keep it registered just in case I want.
Just in case you need to go there.
Just in case. And but in that, I decided to put it aside because I did realize that I needed to focus. And I decided when I worked at Coldwell Banker that even though I'm used to having 4 jobs, that if I want to do well here, I need to focus. And that was a big decision for me because it wasn't my norm. That was something uncomfortable for me. And I learned that what a corporate environment looks like, what training looks like, what processes look like, what is normal for a successful business. And when you understand how you fit into that machine, it's easier for you to be able to move into a different space in that machine. And you have to remember that when you work somewhere, that business needs to make money.
Right.
Like, that's how they pay you.
Right.
So
which is something I think you tend to
you
miss.
can forget
You
it very
forget
easily.
because it's not, you are not seeing any exchange of it. You're
Exactly.
not part of the process of the money coming in
Exactly.
and back out to you, right?
You don't. You just get a paycheck and you think, and honestly, I have to say, from, going through all the different jobs that I had and being fired all the different times that I was fired, I started to feel like, well, I definitely had an attitude of, well, I come to work. I don't want to be friends with these people, which was a little PTSD or whatever, because I just felt like, I'm not going to know you in 4 years.
Right,
Like,
we're not going to be here forever.
And, little things like that. But you have to remember that no matter what environment you're in, people are people, and people want to know you. Yeah. They want to know you. And that's something that I had to learn, because I definitely lost it by the time I was working at Coldwell Banker. I was so private. I would come to work on whatever, and go home. And when I went home, I had all those other contacts and all those other jobs, because I was always pleasant. I mean, right. I like people like me. But it's, and I would talk to them, they'd say, yo, Vivian, do you know about this project going on or that project going on? And I was able to add that to that environment, which is why I was moved into different positions. And ultimately, though, I left because when I was asking for that $15,000 raise, one of my contacts that I had from a previous life offered me $60,000 for a contract. For one contract. One. And I was thinking.
And you started to do the math.
And I started to do the math. And I was like, why? I'm kind of fighting them for this amount of money, when in actuality, I think I could earn my salary plus more if I just left. And I went to Peru. I gave myself a vacation.
Good for you. Which
my boss thought was like so hilarious. He's so cool. I still talk to him now. And he's like, you're the only person I know who will ask me for money and tell me you're going to Peru.
You're like, I just want you to see what you're going to be missing.
Yes. Give you a chance to think about your decision.
I will be in Peru finding myself.
Yeah. So I was in Peru. I was staying on Machu Picchu, and it was a Tuesday. And I was just like, man, this is the kind of life I want. I want to be able to travel and do things and see things and be with people and all of this. And I don't want to have to worry about my finances so much, because I feel like I know how to make money. So why stress myself? And when I came back, I gave him a chance. I said, did you negotiate that raise for me yet? And he said no. And I said, that's great. I'm leaving on Friday. This was great. But this is it.
Yeah.
And when I left, it was so empowering, because just the power of being good to people and letting people be good to you, because a lot of my very first clients came from that same person who referred business to me all the time. And people still refer business to me all the time, because regardless of what, if you focus on quality of your work, that cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
It just can't. It's like, if you want to position yourself properly, to get your messaging together, to use all different types of media in a comprehensive marketing plan, you'd be hard pressed to talk to somebody else but me. I'm just the right person to talk to about it. So, it is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, so you left that job and started your own firm.
Yeah, I started my own firm right away. My first contract under that new firm was that one that was for $60,000, and I picked up 3 more clients. Like within weeks, I had more people. So it took me 3 weeks to make more than what I was getting paid anyway. So I was just like, okay, this is great. And then I would just continue doing that, and I reached back into my clients when the last election happened. And they were very moved by it. And we were watching a television show, or watching the news, and it was when they were having a Black Lives Matter march. Mm-hmm. And the police officers got shot during that march, and it was just, a whole lot of negativity. But we were at a meeting, and I thought I was breaking the tension, because the partner that I was talking to, he's one of the investors for Brickell City Center, mm-hmm. real estate. Right. But my client, real estate, came from Coldwell Banker. So that he's mentioned, he said, people don't respect women, and the only thing they respect is money, because they happen to be interviewing this woman of color. I think she was Indian. She might have been Persian of some kind, and asked her, "Are you bothered by this march happening in front of your business? Do you wish that it wasn't happening?" And he was so disgusted by the question that, just so insensitive to what is going on.
What's actually happening.
Yeah. And he said, he just said, people don't respect women, they only respect money. That's the only thing that people seem to care about is money. And I was joking. And I said, well, what are you going to do? Give them your money? With that, I really thought I was like making such a brilliant joke to like break the tension and get back to lunch. And he said, I would. And then he opened up to me, which I didn't realize I'd known this person for such a long time. And I've never took the time to find out anything about them personally. Lesson learned. And I found out that his ex-wife was of Asian descent and that she was one of the VPs at Boeing. Oh. And that she, had a long history of successful businesses, and that he himself, his father, had the patent. You roll your luggage?
Yeah.
His dad created that in France. He had the patent, and that he's been in business doing many things for many years, and that investing in women is a good investment. And he started shooting up all these statistics about how successful women are when they get support, when they get money, when they get funding, when they get all these things. And I was just sitting there getting an education because
you're like, I am a woman. I should know these things.
Yeah, I should know these things.
You're
but
like, he's schooling me. I love this.
I was just soaking up all the information. I thought, wow, this is pretty crazy. And then I said, well, are you really serious? If you had an opportunity to invest in businesses that are owned by women, would you do it? He goes, yes. He's like, it's not an emotional decision. It's the right thing to do, but also it's a good investment. He's like, I'm always up for good investments like that. And after that meeting, after that moment, I started to ask my other clients if they felt the same way, if they felt like women weren't getting the support that they needed and they should be in positions of leadership, but are not. Right. And he's from France. It's like a white guy from France.
Right.
And he didn't have an opportunity to vote, but makes a lot of money in the United States. And I have a lot of clients like that. And they started to vote with their money. And ultimately, we had $15 million that we had available to invest into businesses that are owned and operated by women. Again, not because I intended to do that, but just because taking the time to be open to talk to people and just listen. And that's where we created the Flourish Media Conference, which is where most people know me from. Mm-hmm. And the Flourish Media Conference, what we do is we talk about branding, visibility, and funding. And we do like a Shark Tank-like pitch toward that money on the second day of the conference. And we've been doing that now. That was 5 years ago. We'll have our 4th conference next year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So with all those relationships with the investors, are they the sharks? Are they the ones that are up there, judging the different?
They are the sharks. Yeah, it's not my money. I make sure I tell people that. It's not my money. It's just that I happen to know very wealthy people.
Right.
And they listen to me and they trust my passion about specific things. And I have a lot of integrity. So I think that at the end of the day, money enjoys integrity. Mm-hmm. It's biblical. It says when things are done in decent and in order, that things flow easily.
Right.
And I happen to have that nature about me, period. So people don't feel uncomfortable giving me money or giving me access to money because it's very strict. Because one time I remember working for the cash management company, and I pointed out to them that we have keys to these vaults, and I can see this vault every day. And you have guys driving for the company, and they're making minimum wage. You don't think that they're motivated to maybe like rob the place? You should give them a raise. Like I just kind of said that.
Right. And
ultimately I found out that once I left that they did all of them got raises. And I don't know that it was because I said anything, but I just think, think about the pressures. Just think about how you're treating the people that you're around.
Yeah.
And, and what the outcomes potentially can be, because things are done in cause and effect.
Yeah.
They are. So, with the conference, it's a beautiful thing because I'm blessed because of the opportunity to make this, to introduce women business owners who are interested in getting investors to these investors. But at the same time, a lot of them turn around and hire my company to do the marketing. So it's not that I don't get anything out of it,
no,
but that's not why I started doing it,
Well, and it's also like to be around the people that want to, like, what better client?
Exactly.
What better client would be the kind of person that wants to invest in women businesses, that wants to give people a start that could make a difference between their business failing or totally succeeding? And so, like, as an attraction of actual client, like, those are great people to be around.
It's true. And one of the things I think about when I do think about money, and I ask that more people start to think of money this way, is that as an adult person, there's not a lot of opportunity for you to touch other people. Even more so now in 2019, it's like very frowned upon. But your way of saying thank you for effort is to pay them.
I love that. Yeah, when you're a little kid, like, you get presents and you get, like, you know, or you do a good job, like, you get a sticker or you get, you know, praise. Money is the adult equivalent.
Yeah, it's the adult equivalent. So think about, you know, what is it that I can do in my business to offer value to the other person? And when you're able to offer that value, they are not going to think anything of just giving you the money, because that's their way of saying thank you for that effort.
Yeah. And what a gift to be allow them to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be able to receive the gift, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that why we extended the conference to talk about more than just the funding, and added the branding and visibility, because during that particular time in my business, the thing that people hired me the most for is when they had products and they wanted to get it into Walmart or Target or Burlington Coat Factory and stuff like that. Because I had a lot of success the last 3 years of getting people in big retailers. But again, it's because, guess what? I worked with CVS, and you know,
you knew the big retailer.
Yeah, I know it, and
you know what system. You know the system. You know what it looks like.
Yeah. So because people wanted to have that outcome, I spent a lot of time trying to help them understand that big retailers are living in the same world we are, where there's influencers, where there's Google, where there's Instagram, where you can look up a hashtag and they want to see your business first. So that means that you have to have some type of what we call social proof of your product before you go and try and pitch it to be in a store. And that's why we added the branding and visibility. It's the same thing on Shark Tank when they ask you, well, how many people have bought this already?
Right. Or if you want to get a book deal, like, how many social media followers do you have? And all of those things, like, they make such a big difference in what your brand is.
Exactly. And you know, we're in a time now where social media is just not optional. It's not an optional thing if you want to have a business. And it's better that you understand how to do it and how to do it effectively, and not have to, you know, spend your entire budget on it. Because to give you just a sense of comparison, when you're seeing a brand over and over again, you should be spending at least 12 to 15% of your entire revenue on marketing, just period. And keep in mind that marketing is tax deductible when you are a business. So there's so many women who have like an Etsy shop, or you have your e-commerce shop, or maybe your vendor at different like bazaars and things like that, and you haven't taken the time to actually register your business. And that is a detriment to you, because until you register your business with the government, so you get that EIN number, all of that effort, all of the marketing you do, sometimes the clothes you wear, all of it is tax deductible, but it isn't tax deductible until you are a registered business. So that's something I would leave people with. It's just take the time to make sure that your paperwork is in order. And if you're in Florida, all of that stuff costs less than $200.
Which is amazing, right? Like, you can open a business for less than $200, and yet it's the step that people skip.
Yeah, it's a step you skip, and it doesn't hurt anything. But what it does is opens up a world of benefits to you. Not now, I need to look at the statistics, but I would definitely say when I opened my first business, I'm so happy that the school made me do it. Basically, it's not that I wanted to do it, but having a business is the equivalent tax benefit of owning a home. Wow, it's the equivalent. So when you are a millennial like me and you have high student loans, and you're, for some millennials, living in your parents' home because you're trying to save money, and there's a lot of different adult opportunities that you feel like you don't get to participate in, the way that you can skip over all that stuff is opening a business. Open a business so that your corner of your room is tax deductible. Open a business so that when you have your car, the payments that you're making on that car are also tax deductible. And all of these little bitty fees that you have that don't have to be a drain on your finances, all of that can go toward that house, or go toward upgrading your business, or they can go toward investing or supporting, nonprofits or charities that you believe in, or taking that vacation to Peru.
Yeah.
All of it. I mean, make your money work for you. You work so hard for it.
All right, so we need a good start the business tip. Okay. We've paid the $200.
Yeah.
What's the thing that you see the most that people are doing wrong? Maybe not like when you first start the business, but maybe you're 2-3 years in, you've kind of like figured it out, but you want to up level. What's the thing that you see people struggle with the most?
I think people struggle a lot with their messaging, just the why they do what they do. But you have to understand that as a small business, you are responsible for the culture of your brand. And a lot of time, even more so now, people are purchasing the culture of your brand, not really what it is that you offer. And a big tip, do not get into being the discount option.
Yes.
Because you will get into a race to the bottom.
A race to the bottom is not where we want to be.
That's not where you want to be. Focus on the quality of your product or service, and focus on that, and helping other people understand why you do what you do. I'm a marketing advisor because I watch so many people with small businesses not excel because they think like a small business. I help you to skip over all of that thinking small, because I'm bringing to you corporate thinking, right, of the largest companies in the world, and helping you think like them and spend your money like them so that you can see those same kind of results in your business. And I think that that's something that's very important. Don't think small. Be clear about the quality of services that you offer, and do not, please do not be the discount supplier.
Do not be the discount supplier. Yeah. Which I think is the thing that happens, right? Like, people are like, oh, you have a small business.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's just you. Can you do this for me? And
no, I can't, because it is just me.
Yeah.
So if you want to tell me thank you for the work that I'm doing, I don't have the ability to give you 20% of me. I can only give you 100% of me. So you have to pay 100% of my price. But the thing is that that's okay to do, and there's other things that you will learn to do as a business owner that help you have that conversation easier. Right. Specifically understanding that everybody is not your client. Right. And that's okay, because there's billions of people in the world.
Billions of people are ready to give you some money. Yeah,
there's billions of people in the world. And then especially if you understand the digital aspect of things, a statistic that I like to share with people when I do intensive workshops with them is that 95%, I learned this when I was in DC, because remember, I have that background of government. Yeah. So I was invited to DC for a global local leader summit for the Global Leadership Coalition in DC. Okay. I was invited from Florida. So they share with us that 95% of consumers don't live in the United States. Wow. 95%.
That is a huge number that we never consider.
95%. So that means that when you have an online business, and someone had to tell me this, a mentor that I had, who reminded me that, for example, my background, I'm Panamanian. My mother's from Panama. Mm-hmm. My father is from Nigeria. I was born in Germany because I was born while my dad was still in the military, and we lived in Germany. Right. So I can talk to military people, Panamanian people, Nigerian people, people from the Black diaspora. I can talk to women. I can talk to people who are high academics, because I have a lot of collateral behind that. I can talk to people who are in the corporate environment. I can talk to people who are retired, because that happens to be my favorite group of people, who are going into your second set of life. Right. Because I've done the second life so many times.
Second, third, fourth,
iteration.
Like, I'm just gonna keep going.
Just keep going, being different.
Only getting better.
Yeah, and I'm very into people who are stepping out into something uncomfortable and helping them feel comfortable, because I've just done it so many times. Not only in the business, but as a military brat, I went to 13 different schools. Wow. I've been the new kid 13 separate times. So I understand stepping into a new dynamic. I just understand it very well. So when you're looking at doing these different things and positioning yourself for your business and making sure that you're not in a race to the bottom, just own your message, I would say. Own it. Own who you are and be clear about who you want to do business with too.
Yeah, if you want to be doing business with high-level people, you have to be around the high-level people to do the business, right?
Exactly. And if you have that 95% that you're trying to reach and you have an online business, take the time to use copy that is easily translated.
Yeah.
Don't use terms that are so far-fetched that you came up with it yourself as your internal language, but somebody else wouldn't have no idea what it is. If you do international shipping, say that you do international shipping so that they know they can order from you. If you're on social media or on Facebook, 70% of Facebook is not from the United States.
Wow.
70%. 70%, more than half. And also, when you have a website in general, only 30% of people who come to your website will come back again.
Yeah, what brings them back?
Do you even need them to come back? If you have an opt-in that gets their email the first time, I never need you to come back. I'll talk to you in your inbox. But position yourself, and there's so many different ways to position yourself for success in having a business, beyond the surface things of this is what I'm going to sell, this is how I'm going to provide it, and these are the ways that you can purchase from me. But then there is the making sure that you're in front of people on a regular basis and automating that process so that you're not run thin, because that's the thing that a lot of business owners unfortunately do to themselves, because they don't get the right kind of help at the right time, and then they suffer from burnout or depression, or a lack of self-care. Their relationships fall apart because you're fighting so hard to make this idea become real, keep that baby alive, and you're not asking for help in the right places so that that baby can get fed and grow.
It's not gonna be a baby forever. You gotta move into toddlerhood.
Yeah.
So when hiring, is it find the thing that you least like doing? Is it, where do you see, like, is it the thing that you have no idea how to do? Like, what are the things that you should hire first for?
So for me, I'm at a place right now where my team has 13 people on it. And I started just with myself. And when I looked for help the very first time, the very first person who helped me in my business is now one of my co-founders in my nonprofit. She helped me because I didn't have enough time in the day. So I did wear myself too thin. And I needed someone who had the similar skills to me, who could mimic what I was doing, but just do it for me while I sleep.
Right.
It was that, right? And then the next person that we looked for were people who didn't have our exact skills, or who was able to do a portion of what we needed to do, but took up the most time. So for example, if you have an online business or you have a product and you know you want to put it out on social media and you're using YouTube, typically the very first person that you end up shelling out that cash for is an editor.
Yeah. Because
editing a video requires so many of your senses that when you are editing, you cannot do anything else. And you as a CEO are responsible for driving the mission and vision of your company, but typically you're responsible for driving sales. So you as a CEO need to be doing revenue driving activities only.
Revenue driving activities.
That's it. If you know that your client, if you're a painter, and you know that your people who buy from you are paint enthusiasts, people, you need to be at the museum every day. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not get a membership and go every day? Get to know all the people there, because all of the employees that are there, guess what? When they find a collector or they see someone who comes in often and can say, you know, there's a local person here and you should probably talk. I bet she's here right now looking at, go on the 5th floor, the 4th floor, the 7th floor.
Oh, she's always here.
She's always here.
She's got red glasses on. Go find her.
Exactly. If you're a writer and you know that you write copy for businesses, I don't know why you wouldn't be a member of every single chamber of commerce in your area. They probably meet once a month, if not more.
Yeah.
You should be there. You should be there every single time. Those people need to know you, because in order for people to spend money with you, They need to know, like, and trust you.
Yes.
They can't know you if you're at home trying to do everything and be everything to everybody. They will never like you if they don't get a chance to know you. They need a moment to get to see what that synergy looks like.
Right.
And they need to, the way that they trust you is by seeing your work. You can't talk someone into working with you. It doesn't happen like that. When I was working with Coldwell Banker, the very first freelance client I had was because I collect business cards. And some people would say I collect them like baseball cards, but I keep them. I just keep them. And so I have a binder that I still have to this day. And
like the old baseball card
kind
of
binder. And I just keep it because I would run into so many people, and I have an amazingly unique good habit, which I did not know was a habit other people didn't have. So when I get your business card, I email you right away.
This is one of those things, especially in South Florida. I'm not exactly sure why.
Yeah.
People are shocked by it.
They are.
I mean, it seems like good networking practice to mention something from your conversation or just so you remember.
Yeah, and it is to my benefit because every time, and you can say this if you've ever met me out and about, I send the same email structure to everybody. The subject line says, "We met at," and it'll say where we met. And then I put your email and I say, nice to meet you. And then I mention something about our conversation. It might say, thank you for telling me about, your new business that you started, or thank you for telling me about your grandmother who lived in Germany in my same city. It was so cool, or something. But I do that because if I ever have to email you ever again, your name will come up and it will tell me something about you, because you can't know, like, and trust me if I've never taken any interest in you at all. If I can't remember who you are. I mean, that's ridiculous, but that is a habit that I have. So when I collect those business cards, after I send the email, I put it in the binder.
Do you take notes on your business card?
I don't take any notes, but I do mention enough in that email that it is essentially my notes.
Yeah.
And so I put it in that binder and I just put it on my desk. Now, one of the realtors at the time, she was a 7-figure earning realtor, which I was just so impressed by her because I find that.
You're like, I like 7 figures.
I'm like, oh my God.
I'm following you.
She's so amazing. And she was telling me that she was having such a hard time because, again, you're the CEO, you need to do those revenue driving activities. And for her and for many realtors, many salespeople, it's going out networking. And she'd come home and she's like, you know what? I have all these business cards. I don't remember any of these people, and I have no system for emailing them or like doing anything. And she said, I see you with that binder all the time. Will you organize my business cards? How easy is it? I mean, just this, I've never.
Did you just start the whole new business with that too?
I did. That is the first truth. That is the first service I ever did, was organizing people's business cards, making an Excel spreadsheet with all of the information, and then uploading it to whatever system they wanted to use. Whether it was Constant Contact, at the time was the most popular, then it became MailChimp, and then it became Active Campaign, and there's a million others now.
Right.
But at the time it was Constant Contact, and she paid me $500 to do that.
Which is amazing because, like, who does not have the drawer of business cards that needs to be organized? And, whether... And once the system is in place, I mean,
it's there forever. You just have to follow up.
I mean, and now it's easy. You can even, there's so many apps where you're just taking the picture, it's going to that spreadsheet, and then it's going to your mail list. But, like, the relationships you make are things that are totally you cannot have a business without them. So that's the way to jump into it so that you can really, like, take advantage of the contacts that you make. Why are you going to go networking if you're not going to use it, right?
Yeah, and I think giving yourself the disciplined behavior of don't do anything that you're not going to keep doing. And the things that are revenue driving activities, make them your priority and make them a habit. If they don't come naturally to you, make it a habit to do. Because if you don't do it, you'll end up, one, hiring somebody and spending a lot of money to do it for you, which will gut your bottom line, or your business will fail.
That's it.
That's it. You're going to find somebody else to do it or your business will fail. That's it. So the best thing I can say is to make sure that you focus on those revenue driving activities and the things that make your business go every day. That's the person that you want to hire, and treat that person with respect because they're allowing you to grow your business.
Definitely. All right. So we've heard all the good.
Yeah.
All the easy ways that, like, you know, it's a little bit of a curvy line, but,
Yeah.
you know, it all worked out. What do you think was the hardest lesson? Maybe not failure, but what was the hardest? Oh, this has come up more than once. Now I'm actually going to learn it.
Okay, so for me, the hardest lesson is customer service. That is the hardest lesson. It has come up several times because you may not know this. I can be quite sweet. And I love to pay attention to my clients, and I love the whole, like, romance of them getting to know me, and I get to know them, and then becoming my client, all this stuff. But my people are not me. They are not me.
That's why they're hiring you, because they are not you.
Exactly. So for me, the largest challenge that I've had this year specifically is because as my business grows, I'm trying to understand how to train my team to borrow the things about me that people enjoy. Because I don't know that it's the best thing about me, but it's the reason why people work with me. And the challenge that has come up several times is I had to learn to implement phone calls with my clients. Because in a digital space and being a millennial, I think if I email you, you got it. Or if I text you, it's fine. Why do I need to have a phone call with you? I just emailed you. You can read. I can read. What's the problem? And
communication is there.
It's like we can see this is great. And then from a corporate environment, I encourage as many business owners to lean on the written word as much as possible because I've watched people get sued. I've had clients who had to go through separations with their business partners. I've just been a part of many, many things that came down to the written word, like what was written down.
Right.
And from my perspective, people from the baby boom generation or generation X, in some ways, they like to talk on the phone, but also have picked up the habit of, well, I didn't say that. And that can be very detrimental. And for me, it's like triggering because I don't have a bad memory. So I know what you said. So I don't like to get into, you said it's blue. Well, no, I said it was royal blue. Well, no, you said it was aqua because I'm in marketing. So It's like those things are very important. And my default is I'm going to send you the hex code with the number.
The number, the letters, we're gonna, it'll show you the picture of the color.
Yeah.
Like there's no
confusion.
There's no gray area here.
Yeah, I don't like confusion. So when I speak to a client, I understand there's a kind of bedside manner paired with write it down. And when I've had staff members or people who work from your interns or whatever, and they don't understand the importance of writing it down, and then there's that confusion. And confusion I don't do. I don't like confusion at all. So that's something that has come up in my business. And then the more I would get clients who pay me quite a bit of money, I had a retainer that was like a big one. It was a big one. It was $10,000 a month. So, oh my God, they didn't pay like one time. They're going to keep paying it. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is so great. And they would call me because they were in California and they would call me. They didn't call me, but a part of the team or whatever would call me at 11 p.m. our time. Oh. And I was just so taken aback by that. And I thought, this is such an invasion of my space and my time. And I kind of don't care that you're on Pacific and I'm on Eastern time. I just think it's very wrong to invade someone's personal time like that. So I had to learn to set boundaries. And also when I onboard a new client, I tell them, these are my business hours. I don't work 20. I'm not a doctor. Nobody's dying. I don't cure cancer. I don't do surgery. Nothing. So get it together. Like,
if you can't wait till tomorrow at opening, like you have much bigger problems.
Yeah, it's like that kind
which is probably not mine.
Yeah, it's not mine. It's just that things need to be worked out. And I had to come to terms with how I want to treat my clients, and then also how I want my clients to treat me. And that was definitely a challenge for me, finding that balance, because as my business has grown and I've started to work now with larger corporations the way that I was used to in the corporate world, I have to remember that I still have clients that are starting out.
Yeah.
And they sometimes do. They need to talk to somebody because they don't understand just the whole process of things. And then at the same time, I have to remember that my corporate clients are not my mom and pop shops. And they don't care about anything. They just write down and send it to me and send me the invoice and get it done. And they're just, it's balancing all of that and understanding which direction I want to take the business in general in, and making sure that I communicate that to my team.
Very nice. So where do most of your clients come from now?
A lot of my clients come from referrals of people who have worked with me in the past. And then, I would say that's where the majority of them come from. Now, people who are customers, so that's something to understand too, is where someone's a client, which means they're going to work with you long term, and they usually have a service-based business. And then if somebody's a customer. So my customers are people who buy something once or twice, and they're usually purchasing a product. So my customers come from social media. They're buying my social media guide or my brandography, which is a photography guide. When you want to work with a photographer, it's a checklist of the photos you need. Or they're purchasing, soon to be my book, because I wrote a book.
When does the book come out?
It comes out later on this summer, and it's called Stumbling Through Adulthood.
Nice.
You'll get more details about all the different iterations of myself that I've gone through to get where I am right now.
And this podcast will really actually be coming out right around when your book comes out, so we'll have a link in the bio for you. And but yes, congratulations, because a book is its own baby. It is its own living thing that has to be fully birthed and got all the way out to the market.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. So when I'm working with clients, my clients come from referrals, and my customers come from social media. They come from all different meetings, making sure that I maintain all those email lists and adding them to the email list, and that's what they come.
Nice. All right, so in the Las Comadres, our final question is always that the word comadre comes from what godmothers and mothers call each other, which is the relationship that's built between them that is mostly trust. So it's the relationship of sisterhood and trust, and knowing someone out there has your back and your support. So who is the comadre in your life that really has mentored you and pushed you, and you also know that you can do the same for?
Oh wow, I have so many. I have so many in my personal life. I will definitely give a shout out to my business besties, Dr. Tracy Timberlake and Sasha Rebels. They are the ladies who helped to develop Flourish Media Conference. They are the women who are on the board for Behind the Link that allows me to do the philanthropic things that I want to do. But then there's people like Jasmine Norris, who's my best friend in Miami. And anytime I want to do anything fun or want an honest opinion, I can turn to her for many, many things. She was my maid of honor, my wedding. I just love her to death. And then there's also Nicole Guerrero Benitez. I have to remember her husband. And she's just been so supportive to me and so many different things that I've done. All the iterations, actually, of every business I've ever had. Because I've known her for such a long time, and she's always been there for me. So I would say that those are the people that I turn to as the Vivian that I am right now. There's a bunch of other people that are very important to me, and I love you all. I didn't forget about you at all. Don't call me.
I'm only asking for one comadre, so you have done.
Yes.
We understand. It took a lot to build all the Vivian, and there are many comadres under that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what are the best ways to find you on Instagram? Where do you hang out the most?
All the things. So the best way to see everything that I have is VivianOlodun.com. That's VivianOlodun.com. And from there, you'll find me on all socials at Vivian Olo. That's me.
Awesome. So we will have all the links to to all of your social media and your website in the comments. And thank you so much for being on here. We really appreciate it.
This was amazing. Thank you so much, all my Las Comadres. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being giving me your love and letting me love you back.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being part of our community. All right, until next time.
Las Comadres is a community of entrepreneurial women reclaiming sisterhood and uplifting each other in life and in business. Music for the Las Comadres podcast provided by Afro-Beta. Learn more about our community and join us at lascomadres.club.